Good morning. How you doing? This is Tom's Radio Room Show, and this is Tom Styles, and this is show number 375. We're on our way to 400 shows. Okay. This is my new Eton Field Radio. This is brand new on the market, and I've done a couple of shows on it, and today we're going to give it the old Tom Styles grade using my report card. And I'm really excited about this radio, not because it's the most fabulous radio in the world, because it's the newest radio in the world. And that excludes the under $20 radios that are flooding the market right now. And unfortunately, most of those are the same electronics, just packaged differently. But I kind of like the novelty of those little radios too. So I digress. So here's the report card. And the things we're going to look at today are look and feel, readability, power options, tuning, audio quality, special feature, and then we'll do another show, hopefully, and not done too good on my reception testing, on reception. Although today is going to be a nice day for the first time in about 2 months. It's finally supposedly not going to rain today, but then the rain comes back tomorrow. So much for the weather report. Let's go on. Okay, so we'll start with look and feel of this radio. And I really, really like the look and feel of this radio. I don't know how well this painted plastic is going to hold up. It could be susceptible to scratches, but it really looks nice. Of course, if this was a much more expensive radio, they probably would have used metal. This is just plastic. So keep in mind, this radio sells brand new for only $120, so keep that in mind. Other things about look and feel is the display, and I'll talk about that some more. As I mentioned in a previous show, these switches here now click. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can look at the radio a little more instead of all the background junk I've got. Okay, we'll try that. But anyway, these switches, which on the 450 and 350 were kind of wobbly and they didn't have a real good detent, these click and they got a great detent. So that look and feel feature is really an upgrade from the 450. Also, I'll try not to use my hands so much. Sorry for all the hand waving. I know it drives you nuts. It does me. So I try not to do that too much. The knobs, I initially, when I first glanced at them, I thought they were metal, but they're not. They're not metal. And I wouldn't expect them to be metal in a radio that sells for only $120. Now, the Grundig 750 does have metal knobs, and they are nice feeling knobs. These are plastic. They are painted or coated so they look like metal. But they feel fine. There's nothing wrong with them. So that's fine. The lettering is very easy to read. Now, some manufacturers of electronics, and not just radios, will put, like a light gray letters over a black background. And, it's impossible to read. I'm like, what are you thinking, people? Well, this is nice and white. They're easy to read, even for old Four Eyes Tom here. I can read all the lettering. Sometimes, I have to get a little closer, but I can read all the lettering. So the lettering is good. It's got a handle. Whoops, let me zoom out a little bit. Kind of cut out the handle there. It's got a handle on the top. Very nice feeling handle. Some of the other reviews I've seen, they didn't like the handle. I don't have any problem with that handle. And for this radio, since it's fairly large, and if you're going to use it as a portable, which it is, I call this size radio a transportable. In other words, you're not going to walk around and listen to it. You're going to move it from one place to another. You know, like you might take it to your backyard, or you might take it to a park, but then you're going to carry it, and then you're going to set it down and not going to move it again. So I call this a transportable, and this handle comes in handy. You really need this handle. So it's padded, so that's nice. So that's the handle. Other things about look and feel. Just overall, I like the color pattern, and I like the display. I'll get to that. Okay, so I'm going to give it, and I don't have my marker, so we're going to use a green. I don't know if that shows up too well. My other marker ran out of ink. So we're going to give look and feel an A. Well, this is not going to show up. Okay, next is readability. Okay, now let's get to readability. Like I say, the lettering and everything is easy to read, but this display, I don't remember seeing this, call it format of display, excuse me, on any other shortwave radio. And it's really easy to see, and it's nice and bright. I love the amber. I really don't, you know, I don't particularly like LCD displays, you know, the gray, the black on gray. I don't really like them. Now, that being said, the Grundig 750 has a very, and some other radios, I think some Sangeans, have a very good backlight for their black on gray LCD display. So those are fine. I like those. But the ones that have like a white light on the LCD and it's kind of weak, I don't like those at all. For instance, the radio I just reviewed, the little Grundig Traveler radio, which only had one little LED in the side. It was basically useless. So I love this display. If nothing else about this radio really stands out, it's the display. So I love the display. Everything is really easy to read. Even this small lettering here where it says timer A and timer B, that's easy to read. And when we come in, turn it on, we turn the sound down. The S meter, which is up here, let me zoom back in here. Let me show you that S meter. Okay, the S meter, which is up here, is very easy to read. Now, on many radios, which have S meters that look kind of like this configuration, they're hard to read. And this one is perfect. There's nothing wrong with that at all. It's got some nice things that show up, icons that show up, for instance, and I don't know if it'll show up on my camera. This little icon here is a plug, AC plug, that tells you it's running off AC. And it's, for me, looking at it, you know, face to face and not via this webcam, crummy webcam I got, it's obvious what it is. There's no guessing required. And the numbers you can see, really easy to read. And then you can see down here it says megahertz, really easy to read. Trust me, maybe my camera's not showing it, but it is easy to read. Okay, so for the readability, I'm going to definitely give it an A. I'd give it an A+, but I don't give A pluses. So we're going to give that an A. Now the next one is power options. It comes with an AC adapter that doesn't introduce any noise. I know a lot of people say, well, I only run my radios on batteries because when I hook up the AC adapter, it causes noise. Well, there's no noise that's introduced by the AC adapter, so that works great. It requires 4 D-cell batteries, which means you know you're going to have a lot of power there as far as reserve storage power, and so the radio is going to play for a long time. So that's good. It does make the radio heavy. Like I say, I classify this radio as a transportable, not really a portable radio. So that's the two two power options. It does not have a charger, so you can't use rechargeable batteries. Typically, you don't find that many rechargeable batteries in a D size. So that's kind of understandable that I wouldn't have rechargeable. So I would give it, since it doesn't, well, I'm contemplating on this. Since it doesn't have recharge capability and you can't use rechargeable batteries, but they're D size, so they're not very readily available, I'm not going to count that against it. So since it does come with an AC adapter, I'm going to give it an A. The question is always does it need D cells? Does it need that much power? Don't know. Maybe this display, since it's fairly large and it has the backlight, maybe that drains a lot of the battery power. So maybe you do need D cells. But the 350 and the 450 both use D cells. So next, tuning. Now, one thing, and this is a brand new radio, one thing I did notice is that the outer ring tuning knob initially was a little stiff, but since I've started using it, the stiffness has gone away, and using the inner ring is very smooth. Now, the one thing that I would have liked to have had that the 750 has, the 750 has a little indentation for your finger so that you can do this. That would have been nice. Not a necessity, but that would be nice. Now, I'm of the mindset, as far as shortwave is concerned, that I do a lot of searching. So I'm looking over the bands all the time. I don't just, set up my radio to say 5 or 6 stations and listen to those 5 or 6 stations, and that's it. I'm always looking for stuff to listen to. Utility stuff, communications on the HF band with aircraft, pirates. I'm always looking for stuff that's not always in the same place every time. So I'm always tuning around. Now, the other thing is, I mentioned before, is it doesn't have a keypad. So you're going to have to tune via this knob, and it does have a selector so you can have it tune faster or slower, or not tune at all so you don't lose the station. And it has the Q-tune option where you put, let me just show you. Okay, I've got it on. I'm on FM. I don't want FM. I want shortwave. Oh, by the way, and something I haven't mentioned because I'm mainly interested in shortwave, it is AM, FM, and shortwave. There is no airband, which I had said before, these type of radios are not good for listening to the airband, and it does not have any long wave. Now, there may be a model available, get my hands out of the way, that would be available for in other countries, such as Europe, which has long wave stations that will have long wave. I don't know, but this particular version, the 550 from Eaton, does not have long wave. So I forgot to mention that before. So we're at 15 megahertz right now, and if I push this cube, so if I wanted to get to say 17.1, I'd have to turn this thing and turn it and turn it and turn it. Well, you can get around that by pushing this Q button, Q-tune I'm saying, and I go to 16, then I go to 17, and then I can tune up to 17.1. So that makes it a little more handy. What I have done on radios like this, for instance my 450, now 750 has a keyboard, but 750 is $250 too, is what I've done on my 450. Actually, I loaned my 450 to a friend and I got it back for this review, is I punched in I punched in like in the memories, of which there's, now let me talk about the memories. I digress here. We talk about the memories a little bit. There are only 50 memories, and there are 10 for each band. So that means since there are 5 bands, there are only 10 for each of the shortwave bands, for a total of 30, excuse me, and then there's 10 for FM and 10 for AM. Yeah. And what I did for him is I put in those bands in those memory locations, some frequencies like 5 megahertz, 7.5, and some increments there, so that he could use the memory function to jump across the bands. And that's what I did when I had the 450. So that helps a little bit. So that's how that works. Okay, so that's kind of for tuning. The question is on tuning, do I give it a lower grade because it doesn't have a keypad? I'm thinking not, and the reason I'm thinking not is because of the price range. This is $120. If you want to buy a 750 today, and there's some available, not a lot, but you're talking over $200 to get that keypad. So I'm going to have to knock it down a little bit. And if you go to like a Sangean, for instance, that has a keypad, you're going to pay more than $120 unless you get it on a fantastic sale. Sale. Okay, so tuning, I am going to knock it down one grade, and it doesn't have the keypad. And for me, now this is for me, that I like to do a lot of scanning, I miss the keypad, and I miss being able to jump around on the bands. So I'm going to give it a B. Now, if, for instance, if you're of the other mindset where you sit down with your radio initially and you come up with some stations you want to watch and you save it into memories, it does have memories, and so you can just punch your memory buttons and go right to the stations you want to listen to, so you don't need a keypad. So that's a don't care for you. So for me, I'm going to knock it down to a B. Audio quality. The audio quality of this radio, I think, is great. It's got this huge speaker. Let me zoom back out again. Sorry for the technical delays here. So it's got this huge speaker, and so the audio quality is very good. Plus, it has the 2 tone controls, I call them, for bass and treble. And so you can get, for instance, on FM, you can get very good audio. And on shortwave, it helps to clear up, I'll say, the audio also, if you're struggling trying to get a shortwave station in. Of course, you're not looking for fidelity, you're just looking for clarity, and it does a good job of that. So I'm going to give it, as far as audio quality and the fact that it's got these 2 tone controls, I'm going to give it an A. Special features. The only really special feature that I've noticed so far, and I've only used this radio for a couple hours, is it does have RDS, which you use on FM to give you some digital data. Let me just see if I can illustrate that this morning. Whoops, I turned it off. That did a lot of good. Excuse me. Okay, let's go back to FM. And and I got to find the RDS function. I don't use RDS that much, but there is a button here, right there, and it tells me on this particular station, and not all FM stations broadcast RDS information. So this particular station doesn't have any. So let's use if you push and hold this up and down arrow, which is used for tuning, it will search for the next station. Okay, it now has the next station, and I don't know if it has RDS or not. It says it has no PTY, and I forget what PTY information is. So let me try another station. Oops, that didn't do any good. I got to push and hold. Okay, now this is a very popular FM station. It's called C-Rock. Classical, it stands for classical rock. And you can see now that this little symbol RDS, which is very easy to read, is now turned on. So it has locked on to that station is receiving RDS information. And when it, for instance, when they may be talking right now, let me just see. No, actually, it's in the middle of music. What it will do, they will broadcast things like the station information, the particular music or artist that's playing right now, and when that happens, and this thing decodes it, it will scroll across the screen. So that's how that works. I don't ever use RDS. It's a neat feature, but I used it. I had rented a car one time and I had a radio that had RDS, and that was nice to have because I don't listen to music and understand who is who's the artist is, what's the name. But I do like to listen to music. I don't follow it that well. So having that RDS information is kind of nice to have sometimes. So that's RDS. So that's a special feature. So try to think of any other special feature. Oh, now let me digress here, and let's push this antenna down, telescopic antenna down, so I don't break it off. And let's go around the radio. Nothing on this side. And let's go this way. Okay, now, as far as special features, it does have 3 antenna connections, and I'm going to have to bring up the lighting a little bit so I can read it. Oh, I can read it. Okay, just had to tilt it up. This connector here is for an external FM antenna, and this is an F-type connector. So you have to have an F-type connector on your cable. This one over here, and I just kicked the camera, is for shortwave. So this is your shortwave external antenna connection if you're using coax and you're using an F-type connector. And then this one here is for, says it's for medium wave. Now, one of the drawbacks, and I'm going to stop here because I got to do, whoops, better show you. I got to do this side here. But one of the drawbacks of portable radios is they have internal AM, medium wave, what do you want to call it, antennas, and it's built into the radio. And depending on how large it is, typically, that's the factor, how long it is, will depend on the quality. And it makes the radio directional, so you have to turn the radio if you're trying to bring in a weak AM station. So some people listen to long distance for AM stations called AM DXing, and so they need that feature. Well, this radio helps you in that it allows you to have an external AM antenna. That's a special feature as far as I'm concerned, because not many radios go to that length to give you that capability of adding an external antenna on AM band. Now, on this side, let's go through what's over here. The top one is the switch for internal and external antenna, so that when you hook up an external antenna, it disconnects this built-in antenna. And I assume that's true for the AM built-in antenna versus external antenna. The next switch is AM, no, excuse me. Let me try it again. Antenna sense, which to me doesn't make any sense. But what that means is that's an attenuator. That's what it is. It's an attenuator, so that if you're trying to listen to a local station and it's too strong and it's overloading the radio, you can switch this from DX to local, and it will attenuate that signal and try to prevent the overloading. So that's another special feature. The backlight here has a switch so that you can totally turn off the display. And so for instance, right now I've got the radio off and it's showing the clock. maybe that's too bright. Maybe I've got sitting, on a table next to my bed, and this is too bright. Well, we can come down here and turn it off totally. So that's a special feature. So that's cool. There are things that are here, including, again, in special features, it has a line in and a line out. You can use the line out to go to your computer with a level controlled, not adjustable by the volume, to go to your computer so you don't put too big of signal into your computer. And it has a line in if you got an iPod and you want to use this big speaker and have control, tone control, you can use its line in. Now that's not new to this radio. The 450 had that. So, in summary, special features, I'm going to give it an A. It's got several good special features. Now, that covers all the things on the report card except reception testing, which I will do when conditions improve. So let's look at the report card. And we have to back up here a little bit. Come on, get in the picture. Okay, so there we are. Look and feel, I gave it an A. Readability, I could give it an A plus, but I gave it an A. Power options, I struggled with giving it A or a B. Tuning, I talked in detail about the fact that it doesn't have a keypad. Audio quality, I gave it an A. It has excellent audio quality. It's stereo if you use the earphone jack. It's not stereo, of course, because it only has one internal speaker. Special features, I showed you a lot of the unique features it has. I gave it an A. So that's before I give it a intermediate score, let me go over some things that I may have missed. Like I say, there's no option for charging batteries, but they're D cells, so that's not a big it does have a narrow and wide filter and on shortwave, and I feel that the narrow filter it seems like it's a little still too wide. So even though it has those two filters, which I forgot to mention, it could be a little. I had hoped they would have improved it a little bit. It does not have single sideband. I'm sorry, but it doesn't have single sideband. It's not surprising because it's really not a radio for amateur radio hobbyists who want to listen to single sideband. So it's not included. It doesn't surprise me that it's not included. So, and especially at this price range. So that's not a big deal. It does not have the ATS function or ATS-like function that the 750 has, where you push a button and it starts scanning the band, and when it finds what it thinks is a good station, it saves it and then goes on, and then when it gets all done, it's saved all those stations that it found during that scan. So not surprisingly, it doesn't have that, but it doesn't have this. It does have the RDS function. Now, one thing that the smaller radios have that this doesn't have, and I wish they had added, is that, for instance, my loop antenna uses, and I've got it over here not too far away from me, got it all tangled up. There it is. It uses this size plug. Well, there's no connection to plug this in for this radio. Like I say, a lot of your small portable radios have this external antenna connection. Now, so what you have to do is this antenna comes with this adapter that you plug in, and then you got these clips to clip onto the whip antenna. So if you want to use an antenna like this that has this kind of plug, you're going to have to use this kind of adapter. If otherwise you use the F connector antennas in the back for your shortwave. It does have 2 timers, and it has, one other feature it has is that the 450 doesn't have. It has a sleep timer mechanization where you can set up a time, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, 90 minutes, whatever, and the radio will play for that length of time and then shut itself off. So if you fall asleep, the radio goes off for you. So it does have that. And I call that a special feature, so still giving it 8 on special features. So I think I've covered everything. I've certainly talked long enough, babbled. So anyway, right now, we haven't done the reception test. We'll do that later. But right now, it looks like this radio has got an A- or B+. I mean, we only have 1 B, and that was for tuning, and that was because I like to tune around a lot. So that's my grade. Now keep in mind, this is my grade, sample of one person, so someone else may give it a totally different score. So just keep that in mind. And I'm no expert. I'm far from any expert. So anyway, that's the show for today. If you enjoyed this show, please give me a thumbs up. I'm going to do a couple more shows. I'll do the reception testing. I'm going to do a show where I'm just playing with the radio and show you kind of how it behaves. And thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed, that'd be a good time to subscribe right now. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye. 31 minutes.